Okay, left Sheko and I continue on going around the island clockwise. So we're now heading down the hill towards Titan Reservoir. So years ago, well not so many years, just maybe a couple of years ago, there wasn't a traffic light across the top of this dam, and it was two-way traffic, which made for some very interesting, shall we say, maneuvers. Bearing in mind trucks such as this one in front of me, double-decker buses pass through. So, on my right is a reservoir, on the left is Titan Bay. I say this used to be two-way traffic, but they've installed a traffic light at each end now, which I think is better because it's at least absolutely predictable. Whether you won't get stuck anymore. In the old days, you can get an accident in the middle and you're stuck here for an hour. So the reservoir is relatively full. We had quite a lot of rain this year. I'm going to ride down to the bottom of the reservoir so you have a look at the seafront. There we go, down by the waterfront. Low tide, very, very pleasant. So, I came from, you see the buildings up in between the gap? That's where the roundabout is. And then essentially earlier, I rode along that road. It was a road along that headland, and then it goes down to Sheko on the other side of that hill. Pretty low tide. You see the rock, I wouldn't even call it a sandbar, but definitely a rock bar there. People come here to do wakeboarding. Generally, or water skiing. The waves here are, well, there's a protected shelter, right? So, small waves. I've come here to fly my water plane as well, actually. It's a great place to take off and land and retrieve your plane, most importantly. I've only been down here maybe once or twice, so let's see where the reservoir, yeah, okay, it should be along to the left. This is more of a footpath really than a vernacular. Never mind. I think it's a weekday. There we go. We are here at the bottom of the dam. So those are the floodgates up there. When it's super full, massive waterfall coming down. But I think the reservoir's just about right now. Ironically, we don't really use the water from the reservoir too much these days. Most of our supply really comes from China. I keep saying China, it's an old habit, I suppose. Hong Kong, of course, is part of China. Oh, this wouldn't be a bad place to farm a plane. Nice steady pond to land. I could walk down there to retrieve the plane. Very picturesque. I think one of these stores on the left, they do barbecue. So you just book in advance, they prepare everything, they marinate the meats, whatever you order, the drinks, so yeah, it makes it easy. Oh, let's have a look down here. What's down here? Is it a private road? I don't know. If I get told off. Oh, it's like a marina. Dragon boats. Nice. Oh, you get a bit narrow this. Well, it's okay on the bike, but in the car, yeah, a little bit dodgy. So to the left there's Red Hill Peninsula. Now that's a monstrosity. It looks like a tart's handbag in the middle of a kind of nice district. And then we're now heading towards Stanley. All the history in Stanley. Stanley in Cantonese, or the Chinese name, means, or words to the effect, I remember being told as a kid, something like thieves' den or something like that. So I guess the pirates used to hang out there. Stanley is a it's a headland over there. The very narrow spit in the middle. Beaches on both sides. During the war, it was essentially the last stand for the Allied army. They were more or less trapped in the peninsula with no support. They were either executed or put into the prison camp, as what is today Stanley Prison, which I'll show you. So I'm just going to hang a left here, go down towards Stanley. Number 6 bus over there. See, one of the thrills. If you ever come to Hong Kong, take the bus, number 6 bus to Stanley. That's a slow bus to Stanley. Sit on the top deck on the right hand side, and you've got a marvellous view of the ocean and a bit of a roller coaster ride. Scary at times, I suppose. This is an alternate route into Stanley, the coastal road. I used to go to school in Stanley when I was a kid. Again, right opposite the prison and the military cemetery, which I'll come to in a minute. So doing the dragon boat, the bay behind us, or just to the left, they do dragon boat racing. One of many locations where they do, actually. But anyway, I guess for this particular location is more for the the international companies, the expats to hang out. Less serious in the old days. People basically never trained, just drank on the day and hoped their boat didn't sink. More serious today. People train 365 days a year. A bit too serious for my liking. This is the old, on the right, that's the old Stanley police station. Now it's a supermarket. Okay, so one more Cot Road. This heads towards my old school, St. Stephen's, where I went at a pre-prep school, sort of the ages of 6 to 12. On the left is the middle school, or high school, whatever you want to call it, sort of from 12 to 18. I didn't go there. I left Hong Kong by then. I graduated from the pre-prep school. It's right by the ocean. In the good old days, we didn't have air conditioning. It's a weekly boarding, just a fan to keep us cool at night, and a mosquito net to keep us safe from the mozzies. Here on the left is the military cemetery, and then to the right is the dormitory to my old school. So I used to be basically looking into the cemetery every night, well, and during class, actually during the day. So we're just going down to Stanley Beach, or one of the beaches in Stanley. Oh, the school's closed. Probably because of COVID. Everybody's teaching online, learning online. Stanley Beach. So the school now comes right up to the beach. New building, I don't even know what it is. Very calm day today. Over there, that's the new Stanley Promenade. And then, I don't know if you can see, to slightly where I'm pointing now, it's a sort of a more colonial looking building. That's Murray House. Believe it or not, that building used to be situated, or as good as now today's Central, on the hill. Used to be an army barrack, or maybe in hospital. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, it was situated in around the hills behind Central, and they took it down, dismantled it brick by brick, and stored it. I don't know where, but they stored it somewhere. Eventually found a new home here, and for a while it was our maritime museum, and some restaurants and so on. Very nice. But the maritime museum now has moved back into Central, one of the piers in Central. Yeah, so over there, basically Stanley Village, Stanley Market, where tourists come to get their cheap bargains. It's changed a lot in sort of the feel over the years. Used to be pretty much a backwater, but now I guess all the shops cater to tourists, so all the merchandising and so on reflects that. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the gap over there, Chung Hong Kok Gap, and then right on the other side is Repulse Bay. Now don't let the name put you off. It's actually very beautiful. There are many what's the word, I suppose, many reason why people think it's called Repulse Bay. Some think it's after the British gunboat Repulse, but I honestly don't know and don't care really. There's a nice beach over there. So I'll carry on. Behind us, so behind us on this hill goes to Stanley Fort, and literally that's where most of the British garrison was stationed before the handover. Now it's all high-end residential. In fact, all on this is the south side of Hong Kong. This is all pretty much high-end residential. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I used to practice my English with the, the soldiers who used to, run past in the morning, and we were shy kids saying hello. They would say hello back, and etc. Oh, that's a prison in front of us. Also, in the mornings, they would send the prisoners down to clean up the beach. So up above there, that's the military cemetery. See, Stanley Military Cemetery. This is my old dormitory. So the story with HSBC kind of is linked to this place. During the Second World War, the general manager then, he steadfastly stayed at the bank, kept the bank open, and he paid for it with his life. He could have retired, gone back to England and had an easy, cushy life. No, he stayed. And he ended up in Stanley Prison as a prisoner of war, and later died there, and he's actually buried up there. And I think, with HSBC, you probably see it on, you can look it up on YouTube. There's a clip about the Second World War and HSBC. Courageous integrity, I think, is very much with this general manager in mind. If you have a chance, Google it. HSBC Second World War. It's about a 10-minute clip. Very interesting indeed. His name is Grayburn. The general manager, his name is Grayburn. And at the HSBC headquarters, there's definitely one of the executive rooms at the top of the bank is called the Grayburn Room. Heading back into the main part of Stanley Market to my left, Titan Bay. Fantastic winter, during the winter months to windsurf. The prevailing wind in winter favours this bay. Windsurfers are just, wow, they're skimming along, they're really flying. So there are a few places in Hong Kong which are tourist favourites, I suppose. Stanley Market, we just skirted the outskirt. The peak, the Victoria Peak, where you get a view of the Victoria Harbour. And I suppose it's either Tsim Sha Tsui on the Kowloon side or Causeway Bay. But my job is to show you the other side, the green side. It's very sad, I know, as I've probably said it many times, I know too many people who think of Hong Kong as just a concrete jungle. Can't blame them, but it's not fair. Let's say, we've got so many country parks here, and I hope after you watch my series of videos that you come to appreciate the greener side of Hong Kong. And to be fair too, I'm only exploring it on motorbike. If I were to go on foot and really hike the trails, I think it would be even more revealing of the greener side of Hong Kong. So we're just going through the gap now, Charmcock Gap, Stanley Gap Road. And on this side of the gap, in front of us, down there, that's Repulse Bay. And you see in the distance over there, that's Ocean Park, the roller coaster. We've had a lot of these slope reinforcement exercises over the years. As you see up there, these abutments, these enormous fences as well. So when I returned to Hong Kong in 1988, anytime we had big storms, typhoons, you can almost guarantee there'll be a landslide here and there, and you know, being only one road on the south side, you'd be pretty much trapped for a day and a half. So the government took the initiative to basically reinforce the slope, all the slopes around Hong Kong over the last 30 odd years. And I have to say, I can't remember the last time I was stuck, you know, at home because of a typhoon. Well, of course, you still got trees which fall, but not landslides, so quite a big difference. So the government would, they would pay for the, if you like, the public slopes, but for hills behind private developments, the owners will have to chip in themselves to do it. And I recall, you know, having to fork out, you know, a fair sum, but luckily where I live there's quite a lot of units, so we share the cost amongst ourselves. Anyway, better safe than sorry. So just below us is, on the left, is Repulse Bay, the beach. So you see it's quite a wide beach and quite a deep beach, but it wasn't always like that. So it used to be half as deep, and I can't remember the reason why, but they decided to broaden the deep, in other words, to make it wider between the shore and the actual coast. And they dredged a bunch of sand from the middle of the bay and dumped it on the beach to make it deeper. So yeah, it's great, you know, the beach is, you know, twice as large as it used to be, but the sand quality is vastly different. So closer to where the wave breaks now, the sand is pretty coarse, you know, it's not very nice to step on. And the old sand, the one closer to the land, is the original bit of sand, and that's really very fine and soft, so quite nice. To the left here is Middle Island. That's the other half of the Hong Kong Yacht Club. So I'm going to hug the coast. You can probably get a closer view of Deepwater Bay, Ocean Park over there. And now we're coming to Deepwater Bay. Another favourite bay for people who want to water ski or do wakeboarding, etc. Well, thank you for watching. If you liked the historical tour of Stanley, please like and subscribe. So I've covered more or less the south side of Hong Kong, from Sheko to Stanley. In my next episode, I will go back to Kowloon Peak, which overlooks the old Kai Tak Airport. Then I'll do one more episode on Hong Kong Island, the west side, where I grew up as a kid. So all this editing, learning, etc. will be in preparation for my circumnavigation of Taiwan in November 2023. By which time I hope I would have mastered my new Insta360 X3 and be able to bring you far more interesting footages. Well, thank you and see you again. Bye.